New Orleans, you just say the name and it conjures up images of music, food, and this incredible, almost tangible sense of magic, right? Well, tonight we're diving deep into the story of one of its most iconic, and let's be honest, most feared figures, the one and only Voodoo Queen, Marie Laveau. So let me ask you, do you know the story of the most feared woman in New Orleans? Her tale isn't just a piece of history, it's woven into the very soul of the city itself. To really get a handle on who she was, you first have to understand the place that made her. See, New Orleans isn't just about Bourbon Street. It's a city of misty bayous, a silent, watchful Mississippi River, a place literally haunted by its own legends. Yeah, in New Orleans, spirits aren't just spooky stories told around a campfire, they're practically your neighbors. It was this incredible melting pot of African, French, and Spanish cultures. And in that mix, the supernatural wasn't just a belief, it was part of daily life. It was the perfect stage for someone like Marie Laveau to rise to power. Okay, so before we dive headfirst into Marie's story, we've got to get our terms straight. The word voodoo gets thrown around a lot, and frankly, it's often totally misunderstood. So let's break down the key differences here. It's really crucial to understand these are three distinct paths. You have Vaudou with an AU, which is an ancestral religion straight from West Africa and Haiti. Then you have Louisiana Voodoo, which is our main focus. It's this unique blend of magic and religion, heavy on charms and spells. And finally, there's Hoodoo, which isn't a religion at all. It's pure American folk magic, with the core belief that every action has a consequence. Now, at the heart of both Vaudou and Voodoo are the Loas. What are they? Well, think of them as powerful spirits, kind of like intermediaries between us humans and the supreme creator. Each Loa has its own unique personality and area of expertise, and knowing how to communicate with them is central to the whole practice. This is the world Marie Laveau was about to master. And that brings us to Marie herself. Our story kicks off in the famous French Quarter of New Orleans, where a legend was about to be born. Marie was born way back in 1801 to free people of color, a pretty rare status back then. She grew up in a city that was changing fast. The Louisiana Purchase happened when she was just a toddler. At 18, she marries a man named Jacques Paris, but then tragedy just hits her, fast and hard. Around 1820, their two little girls vanished from public records, probably taken by one of the diseases that ravaged the city. And then, soon after, her husband Jacques just disappears. No trace. So now she's known around town as the Widow Paris, and she's got to make a living, right? She becomes a hairdresser for the wealthiest, most powerful women in the city. But here's the thing, this wasn't just about styling hair. She was a confidant, a listener, a keeper of secrets. And this incredible network of gossip and influence, it would become one of the cornerstones of her power. It's during this time she meets Christophe de Glapion, a white Creole man she'd spend the rest of her life with. Now, their relationship was something called Plaçage, a really common arrangement at the time where white men had these formal, long-term relationships with women of color outside of legal marriage. They had 7 daughters together, but this is where history starts to get fuzzy, and the legends really start to creep in. They say she was desperate for a son and made a pact with dark forces, only to give birth to a demonic child she had to destroy. This is where the woman and the myth start to become one. After Christophe's death, Marie dedicated herself completely to her practice, and this is when she truly consolidated her power to become the undisputed Voodoo Queen of New Orleans. Her power was this incredible mix of things. On one hand, you had the healer. She used her knowledge of herbs to fight the deadly yellow fever and cholera epidemics. On the other hand, she was a full-blown sorceress, selling magical charms called grise-grise and powerful love potions. And all the while, she had this third source of power, secrets. All the information she gathered from her elite clients made her someone you respected and you definitely didn't want to cross. But the thing that really catapulted her from a local figure to an absolute legend, it was one incredible event. An event that seemed to prove her power wasn't just spiritual, but could bend the actual laws of man. So the legend goes like this. The son of a super wealthy man is on trial for murder, and it's not looking good. He's facing execution. The desperate father goes to Marie and begs for her help. The night before the verdict, Marie supposedly slips into St. Louis Cathedral, where she prays all night and places 3 hot guinea peppers under the judge's chair. The next day, against all evidence, the young man is acquitted, just like that. And for this miracle? What was her payment? An entire house on St. Anne Street, a gift from the incredibly grateful father. And this wasn't just a home, you guys. This became her headquarters. It was the epicenter of voodoo power in New Orleans. Her influence was no longer just a rumor. It was real, it was tangible, and it was undeniable. You know, when someone gets that powerful, that famous, the stories always take a dark turn. As her fame grew, so did the terrifying whispers that swirled around her, painting her as something much more than human. The whispers started getting ugly. People were saying she'd made a pact with the devil himself. They accused her of sacrificing babies in her rituals and drinking their blood to stay young forever. One of the nastiest rumors linked her to the infamous, monstrous Delphine LaLaurie, claiming Marie was the one who gave LaLaurie the occult secrets for her horrific tortures. So as she gets older, around 1875, the story goes that Marie starts to step back from public life. She passes the torch, her entire practice, to one of her daughters, who is also named Marie, and, get this, looked almost identical to her mother. That's the official version of the story. But the people of New Orleans, they had a different idea. They saw this new Marie who looked just like the old one, and they started to wonder, was it really her daughter carrying on the name? Or had Marie Laveau, through some dark magic, found the secret to eternal life and was just pretending to be her own successor to hide her immortality? The myth had officially become bigger than the woman. Marie Laveau eventually did die in 1881. But you know, in a city like New Orleans, death isn't always the end of the story. Sometimes it's just the beginning of a whole new chapter. Her legacy was just getting started. She officially passed away at the age of 79, though of course rumors immediately flew that her body had been found decapitated. She was buried in the famous St. Louis Cemetery No. 1, and her tomb, it immediately became something else entirely, a pilgrimage site. To this very day, people visit, they leave her offerings, and they draw 3 X's on her tomb, hoping she'll grant them a wish from beyond the grave. Even her house on St. Anne Street, it was torn down in 1903. But the story doesn't end there. Visitors to the new building that stands on its foundation have reported hearing phantom drums and disembodied chanting echoing from empty rooms, as if her ceremonies never really stopped. And her influence today? Oh, it's everywhere, absolutely everywhere. She's a titan of urban legends, a cornerstone of New Orleans tourism, a huge inspiration for modern spiritual practitioners, and a fixture in pop culture, most famously portrayed in American Horror Story. In a very real way, she actually did achieve immortality. So that leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? Who was Marie Laveau, really? Was she a devout woman using her knowledge to help her community? A powerful sorceress bending the world to her will? Or has she simply become a pure legend, a symbol of the enduring, strange magic of New Orleans itself? Maybe, just maybe, she was all 3.